Okay, so one of the most important things that a seller would want to know is, when do you plan on closing on this transaction? Closing dates are very important to people. They want to know how soon, they're going to be out of you have to get out of their house, or when is this deal going to close? So that's when they get their money and they can go on to their next place that they're staying, whether it's another house or they're retiring to get a travel trailer or do whatever. But, the seller's got probably an idea in their head of when they want to close, ideally for them. So as a buyer, how you can make yourself more attractive in a multiple offer situation is be flexible. If you don't have to close within 30 days and the seller needs 45 or 60 days to close, you know, then accommodate the seller. If you can close sooner and that, attractive to if you close sooner and that's attractive to the seller, by all means, close sooner. So just so a good agent will reach out to the other agent and ask them, what is your seller looking for as a closing date? Do they need a long drawn out close? Maybe they haven't found a home yet and they need to go find one now that they have their house under contract. So, they might need time. The other thing is no, they've got a house, they ready to move, they want their money ASAP. So the faster you can close, the better. And that kind of goes back to the first point about cash versus loan. A loan usually takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days to go through escrow. There are some good lenders out there that can close them within 20, 21 days. But typically, you should plan on a 30 to 45-day close period if you're getting a loan. So that's the other attraction with cash over loan is you can typically close sooner. So, be flexible. Next thing that's important is, normally the contract is written with two options of when do you take possession as the buyer. Do you take it at closing and funding, meaning basically when you close on the house, sign all the paperwork. Usually it takes a couple hours for the lender to review, make sure everything's signed correctly. Then they will fund the loan and the seller will then receive their money. That's closing and funding. At that point, you technically could take possession of the house. However, to make it easier on the seller, you may want to offer a day or two or three or four, depending on what the seller's desires, what we call a lease back period of time. In other words, take possession later after closing. This allows the seller to gracefully exit the property. They're not under stress and pressure to get out of the property the day of closing. And we have found, or at least I have found in my experiences, that the houses tends to be a little bit cleaner, nicer for when you do take possession. And of course, a lot of situations in this crazy market, which is not just here in Dallas Fort Worth, it's pretty much everywhere, the seller may need time to go find a house. So you may need to give them a lease back, what we call a temporary lease back, for up to 30 days. Now, I don't recommend going over 30 days on a lease back because then you tend to get into a different rental type situation. However, and some lenders won't even allow anything over a 30-day lease back. So, and then a lot of times the seller would be willing to pay a fee, a daily fee for however many days that they are leasing it back. Now, typically, what I advise my clients is, if you're doing a 2 or 3 day lease back, let them stay there for free. What a great offer that is. There's no stress and they get out. You start going over 5 days, then you could ask for them to pay a daily rental rate. But again, if you want to differentiate your offer from anybody else's and you wanted to offer a free lease back for a period of time, by all means, you could do that. However, I highly recommend that you ask for a security deposit. Now, remember, when you close on a house and fund on the house, you now own that house. The owner, the seller is now becomes a tenant. You are now a landlord. So you have to understand that you need to secure the security of making sure your house is taken care of that you just purchased. That's why I recommend you have the seller put up a security deposit. Now, of course, when you get the possession of the property and you walk through it and the seller has left it in good shape, you can refund that security deposit back to the seller. If there's some damages, you're protected by a security deposit to help offset the cost of repairing any damages. Now, by the contract, the seller is obligated to leave the house in the condition that as it was when you purchased it. So, however, if someone's in there for 30 days, there is some normal wear and tear. There could be a stain on the carpet. Of course, you would expect the person to clean it. However, they may not do the job that you would want. There is a security deposit that could help you that. So you got to make sure you got that. And then the other thing is, do they have pets? You want to make sure that they don't bring in pets after you rent the house to them. Well, because now a pet could cause damages that you weren't prepared for. So I typically will tell the seller that yes, any pets that you currently have are okay. However, if you're going to bring in pets, there would be a pet deposit. Remember, you are now a landlord, so you have to treat this transaction as such. And of course, the advantages to a lease back for the seller is, again, it allows them to get out gracefully. If they need to go find a place to stay, or find a house, it gives them time. They have the funds from when they closed on the house to go buy a house now. So that gives them time to do that. So that's a big advantage to a lot of people, especially in today's market. You get a lot of buy or sellers that are building a house. Well, they want to make sure they have the cash in hand so that when their house is complete, they can close on it. They got their down payment. But so giving them a lease back for that period of time while that house is being built. Again, no more than really 30 days would be recommended. But so a lease back is very valuable to a seller. Next, let's talk about seller concessions and some other things that could possibly be done.